Hey Google, name a quilt block I can sew tonight.
Cleopatra's Fan, Bear Paw, Log Cabin, Pinwheel, Hourglass, Strips, Crumb Block, Curve, Tennessee Tulip, Missouri Star.
Hey Google, you are cray-cray with the side of stupid if you think I'm going to sew all of that.
I guess you have issues.
Oh no, you didn't. I got issues. Well, I guess we're just going to do an Ohio Star this week, so let's get started. So to make this Ohio Star block, there's going to be quite a bit of different size squares. And the block will actually finish at 6.5 inches. So here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 2.5-inch squares. And here I have 1, 2, and 1 or 2 different pairs of 3.5-inch squares. Now, I'm just trying to actually use up this particular fabric. You can go with 2 3.5-inch prints as well as 2 3.5-inch squares of a background fabric, but because I'm really just trying to use up this particular fabrics because I've had it for a while, and quite honestly I'm kind of tired of looking at it. So for this particular block I am going to use 2 different green colored prints, but again you can choose to use like a plain background kind of color fabric or not. Okay, that's kind of your choice. So with these 3.5-inch squares, we're going to actually make a couple of hourglass blocks. And these, we're going to use these later on. But with these, again, we're going to be making some hourglass blocks or quarter square triangle blocks. We're going to basically use the 2 at a time half square triangle method, where I am going to be drawing that diagonal line from corner to corner on just one side. So we'll do that quickly here. Line frame still, yep. And I'm just going to draw this diagonal line. And I'll do that to the other one. Then you can use any marking or your favorite fabric marking tool. I'm just using a friction pen here, but I've used pencils, I've used ballpoint pens. Okay, so here I have the diagonal line going right from corner to corner diagonally, and I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch away on both sides of the line. So a 1/4 inch here as well as a 1/4 inch there. So putting these right sides together, and okay, let's take these to the sewing machine. Okay, so here's my diagonal line, and this red, I put in a red thread so that you can kind of see where the seam line is now. So this red thread is 1/4 inch away from that diagonal line on both sides of the line, and I did it on both of these squares. So we're going to cut these squares in half. 1/4 inch away. So there. And we're going to sew this one. Okay, now in the end, when we get the half, these are going to be making our hourglass blocks or 1/4 square triangle blocks. Whoops, I missed a spot there. And in the end, these 1/4 square triangle blocks are going to end up being 2.5 inches. And so I'm just gonna, for now, finger press the seam allowance toward this darker green fabric here on all of these. And I'm not gonna bother to square up these triangle or these half square triangles just yet. I'm gonna actually wait until we get the whole unit sewn, or after we sew on this next step here. So, and again, I'm just finger pressing. I should actually find Woody, which, uh-oh, Woody's gone again. Oh, no, found him. Here he is. So I'm just gonna quickly press this open. Sorry, excuse the neighbor's dogs. They tend to bark at all hours of the day and night. So press it open. You know, why is it that only Ohio and Missouri, I mean, not every state has a quilt block star, or star quilt block, I should say. I mean, there is Ohio, which is what we're doing today. There's also the Missouri Star. There's the Lone Star, which could kind of qualify for Texas. But is there an Iowa Star? How about a Kansas Star, or maybe even a California Star? I know there is not a Hawaii Star, so, but why is it that only Ohio and some of these states have their own star block? If you know the answer, comment down below. Is there a star for Florida? What would that look like? I know someone out there is going to comment that maybe the Hawaiian star is actually just the pineapple block. Well, truth be told, they don't grow pineapples in Hawaii anymore, so no. Just because you put a pineapple on it doesn't make it Hawaiian. In fact, Hawaiian pizza, if you actually go to Hawaii and ask a local person or a local Hawaiian, hey, do you eat Hawaiian pizza? They're going to look at you very strangely. I should know. I was born and raised there. Just in case you didn't know. What about California? California Star quilt block. Maybe I'd have a bear or something in there. Yeah, we do have a lot of bears in California, as well as coyotes, as well as a whole bunch of crazy people too, but what are you gonna do? It's California. Okay, so now we got two pairs or 4 half square triangle blocks. Now what we are going to do is we're gonna line them up again, but we're gonna make sure that the fabrics are on opposite sides. So in other words, this dark green fabric is here, and we're going to put it right sides together, or when we put it right sides together, on the opposite corner is going to be the other, that same dark green fabric. So, and you'll see why in just a minute. Now, I press the seam allowance to one side or towards the darker green fabric, and I did that rather than pressing the seam allowance open. I pressed it to one side, and this is so that I can actually kind of feel here in the center that the seams will nest, or will nest together. And that's actually going to be important in terms of keeping your point, because what's going to happen now is I'm going to draw a diagonal line on one of these half square triangles. Let's do that now. And we're going to repeat that same step where I'm drawing this this diagonal line on the half square triangle, and I'm doing this on the wrong side of the fabrics. And again, we're going to sew a 1/4 inch on both sides of that line, so that, and we're going to line it up with this other triangle or half square triangle, again making sure that the fabrics are opposite of each other. Now when we sew the seams a 1/4 inch away from that center line, what's going to end up happening is then we're going to get our 1/4 square triangle. Okay, so let's take this to the sewing machine. Again, What matters is that you nest the seam in the middle. In fact, I'm just going to actually put a pin here just to hold it together. Okay. So let's take these to the sewing machine again, and we'll sew 1/4 inch away from that center. Then we'll square up the triangles, or these half square triangles. When we get these blocks cut up, we should have 1/4 square triangles here. So now I'm going to cut it again right down the center, or on that diagonal line. And I'll do the same with this one. Cut it right down the center. Okay. And there's our 1/4 square triangle. But now I'm actually going to square these up. So before I iron them open, or before I press these blocks, I'm going to square these I'm going to square them up to 2.5 inches. So there's a lot that's coming off right there, but that's okay. There you go. Then we can cut off our dog ears here with 2.5 and a 2.5. Now, if you feel more comfortable, you can go ahead and press the block open and then square up the triangle. In fact, let's do that on this one, just for demonstration. So I'm going to go ahead and press this block. Actually, not that one. Okay. Actually, maybe I should show this. In order to get this center part flat, I am going to do what is known as spin the block. So I'm going to just pick a few stitches out from the center. Now, I'm not going to pick any of the stitches that are on below or in this part. I'm just going to actually pick the stitches that are within the seam allowance here. And what I'm then going to do is I'm going to press it open, or get open that seam. And this will actually help this center part, because you got, what is this, 4 different layers all meeting up within the center. So quilters commonly refer to this technique as spinning the seams, in which it's allowing you to open up that center, so it'll be a lot more flat when you put it in the block. And which, as you notice there, it kind of makes like a 4-patch design. So I'm just going to quickly press this. And then now we square it up to 2.5 inches. And so I'm going to line up this diagonal line here and line that up with the diagonal seam line here. Okay, so making sure that we're beyond the 2.5 inch lines on all 4 sides. So I'm going to square it up on there, square it up there, and I can rotate the block. Now I'm going to line up the 2.5 inch line on this side, as well as the 2.5 inch line here at the bottom. And then also paying attention to this diagonal line here, making sure that that's staying on the seam line. And we'll trim this, and we'll trim that. And we have our 2.5 inch square. Let's measure this on the cutting board just to make sure, and sure enough, yep, 2.5 inches. Okay, so I'm going to do that with the rest of these, and we'll be right back when I'm done. So we got our quarter square or hourglass blocks all pressed and trimmed. So now let's lay out the block. Here we have our quarter square triangle blocks, or also known as the hourglass. So let's get this block laid out, and okay, pay attention to how you lay out these hourglass blocks, because that's what actually makes the Ohio star, or the effect of the Ohio star. And what I mean by that is this. I'm purposely laying, notice that on here, I'm actually putting, these two got the darker triangles towards the center, and then on this side I got the lighter colored triangles toward the center. If you want to sew your block like that, you're perfectly more than welcome to do that, but typically when you do see an Ohio star, whatever, you want to make sure that the same colored fabrics are pointing to the center, and what that does is it gives you the effect of a square within another square. These points then become your star. Now I could very well switch it up and do it like that. Okay, so the darker square is surrounding the center, and then your star points are here. What you could also do is, I've seen some other quilters do things like they put in another block, which it gives it a little bit of a different look here, but I'm going to keep it kind of traditional. I think I like it with the darker side, or the darker fabrics pointing toward the middle. So let's get this block sewn up, let's get it pressed, and let's get this block finished. And here is my Ohio star. Now this block will finish at about, or this block should end up being at about 6.5 inches, and give or take their 1/4 inch seam allowance, but mine came pretty close, so I'm very happy about it. And you know, I just realized that I did this whole block without the magic elixir. I think that's a first for me. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed making an Ohio star. Hit the thumbs up if you like my video, and consider subscribing to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications on when I upload the next video. And join the Facebook discussion group at Treasure Heart Creations. Post pictures of what you're working on with the hashtag THC5252. And don't forget that in the month of September, we are doing a giveaway. And if you don't know any, or if you want more information about that giveaway, look at last week's video. Well, until next time, go out and create something.